Everyone, hope everything is going well. Yeah, it's two videos in the last couple of days. Yes, I have more free time right now. Maybe after the national, I may take a break the rest of the week, but after the national, yeah, I will probably be doing more content. I like looking at these trends. Now, if you don't want to look at macroeconomics, then don't watch this video because I will tie into what I believe is going on. Once again, don't watch it if you don't want to hear anything macro. Okay. Just warning you ahead of time because I don't want to deal with the comments. All right. I told you about this a while ago, many months back. Logan Paul from Rattle Pokemon. Logan Paul is selling the scam PSA 10 Pikachu illustrated via Golden Auctions. What was wrong with the sale, as discussed before? And you could go to the comment sections here and they will highlight what happens, right? This comment I really liked. The dog dash EF9 or E9F. The 10 was graded a 9 multiple times before the original submitter finally got it through as a 10. Glad I'm not the only one who remembers that. That's right. That's what went on. Okay, and Ken Golden looked the other way. From my understanding, Ken Golden blocked Rattle Pokemon. Okay. And without that disclosure, this sale has an asterisk, in my opinion. It's like Barry Bonds' 73 home run record. Okay. This card would definitely sell for more than a penny. No doubt about that. Just like Barry Bonds would be hitting more than one home run a year. We know he's talented. He didn't need roids. Could have put up 40 to 50 home runs easily without cheating. But he just did what everyone else did and showed that, hey, look, steroids makes me a superstar. Failure to disclose that this was not a PSA 9 or this was a PSA 9 multiple times. Well, that's shady. Is it fraud? You could get a lawyer on to discuss whether it's fraud. But in my opinion, this is definitely sus. This is shady. And this is incredible that a lot of the hobby elites have gone quiet on this. They've gone quiet because when you see cards like Tom Brady's, right, from February, right, it's just a coincidence, right? You could look at a chart from maybe a couple of years ago, right? Like cards were remaining constant, didn't really have that much of appreciation. And then this year, let's just look at the last year, right? It stayed constant August, September. What happened in February? The sale. And then boom. It's like trading like Micron stock earlier this year or for the last few years. SanDisk stock before, this recent pullback. Okay. And this is Tom Brady PSA 8, number 236. I had this card. I sold all of them. Probably I should have kept them, right? I didn't expect the sports cards to go up once again like this, as discussed before, and as discussed on Professor Sports Cards interview as well. Okay. Now, there's this phrase that I got from a Gen Z guy I used to work with. He told a manager he got let go last year because he was just really irresponsible, very lazy, just showed up and didn't give a damn. Maybe have rich parents or something like that. He said the math ain't mathing to a manager that's old school, Gen X, close to a boomer age. You don't say that to a Gen X boss or a boomer. You could get away with it probably with the Gen Z person, maybe a millennial, but not Generation X. No way whatsoever, especially when you're struggling at work. Cannot do that. They're old school. They won't tolerate nonsense. I wouldn't tolerate that either. Maybe I'm a little old school, even though I'm a millennial. But the math ain't mathin'. I'm going to use that phrase though, because the math ain't mathing when it comes to sports cards. And that's why I'm probably going to be selling some of the cards I was buying in 2022, not that many, and probably taking some profits. Some will probably be minor loss. Some will see, a flat. No net gain, no net loss. Okay? Let's look at this money supply, because I used to talk a lot about this way back. Part of the reason why I believe the markets went crazy in COVID, during the COVID time, all sorts of markets, crypto, you got sports cards, you got the stock market, even gold and silver started to pick up during that time frame. The money supply M2, this was March 2020. It was going up even during COVID, by the way, when you had the economy on the verge of collapse. $15 trillion, $15.4 trillion in February 2020. And then May, June 2020 is almost 18 trillion. That's unprecedented. The amount of money they were pouring into the economy, PPP loans, printing of money, interest rates close to zero, was extraordinary. There's no doubt about that. And that's why sports cards went up, one of the reasons. Not only that, there was no games to bet on, you couldn't go out. So people were blowing their money on cards. And some of these cards went up 20x. Cards were multiplying 2x like every week. That's how insane it was. And also, if you look at from COVID era, I looked at this many times. You can look at my older videos. I thought at the time that negative interest rates is good for alternative assets. And I'm like, hey, look, that's what it looked like. That made sense from an economic point of view why sports cards went up. Right now, we had Ken Golden legitimize this card that's a PSA in PSA 10 form right now, but multiple times was submitted as a PSA 9. The original submitter, it wasn't Logan Paul, but the original submitter put it in 3 times, was not disclosed by the hobby elites. That, in my opinion, is misrepresentation. This is snake oil tactics. And after the sale, what everybody and their mother started to do, they started buying up some of these cards. They're like, hey, look, Tom Brady actually accomplished something. He won 7 Super Bowl rings. Maybe we should put our money if this Pokemon Illustrator 10 card is worth $16 million. This is what I think happened. Either some funds or individuals started speculating like, hey, look, this is our opportunity for a huge run-up. And it happened. I was surprised to the extent that it's gone up, but, events like this humble me, right? I didn't expect, once again, this to go up 5x this year. Could you have seen an appreciation a little bit here, a little bit there? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, just look at right now, the macro, okay? 56,000 jobs, I believe, created, right? How many jobs were created? Right, 57,000 jobs, okay? That is not indicative of a strong economy. Okay, now you could be in a great situation where you get promoted, you get raises, you leave your job, then they pay up, they decide to give stock options, special bonuses. Yeah, they reward top employees, companies. Okay, I'm not denying that, but for the aggregate, this is not what you want to see. 56,000 jobs created. If you have 56,000 jobs created and you see Brady cards going up like this, the math ain't mathin'. When you see money supply, right? You could look at a 10-year graph. Okay, it made sense during COVID. I understand that. We got what? Probably $6 trillion increase in about a year and a half, okay? And let's just look at like the 5-year outlook, right? it's quite interesting. Everything started to go down when the money supply peaked. And slowly but steadily, things started to rebound. And over the last couple of years, once again, slowly but steadily, you've seen money supply go from what, 20.7 million to about 23 trillion. I'm saying, excuse me, 20.7 trillion to about 23 trillion. Okay, you're seeing growth, but in this time frame, just a year, you could just look at what, February, right? When this Logan Paul sale occurred, 22.6 trillion to 23 trillion. Money supply has barely gone anywhere, but you're seeing Tom Brady cards are being speculated like crazy. And this is not that much volume, everyone, okay? It's not like you have thousands and thousands of cards traded. What happens when the buying dries up? Sure, you could have shill bidding, but what happens in that situation? When the math, or when people figure out that the math isn't mathing. Temporarily speaking, if you get a dip in interest rates and you see maybe negative interest rates for a little bit, sports cards could go on a bonanza, even more crazier than right now. That's why I'm slowly starting to unload some of these cards. I did not expect, once again, this move to occur at this moment. I did not expect the stock market to go up to this extent as of this moment. All right, I can take the L on that. And I was wrong. There's nothing wrong in what I'm saying, in the stance that, hey, look, I dropped the ball. I'm taking the L over here. But I can assess the situation right now and be like, this doesn't make sense. I'm going to probably take some of this profit and I'm going to be buying probably silver as of this moment. I mean, just go back to like a silver chart from, last 5 years. And this is not investment advice. I'm just telling you what I may want to do. Okay. But the time to have been buying silver, in my opinion, was during this time where everything was starting to go down, 2022. Could have traded in your sports cards right here and bought silver. Kept on dollar cost averaging or whatever. And then, taking a break when it went up like crazy earlier this year, went up to like 120. Now it's at 56. Okay. I'm probably going to be buying silver. And I don't care if it goes down as of right now, because if I take some of these profits, some other Brady cards I have, I do believe that silver is going to fall less than some of these sports cards. Right now, we're at a point where, okay, you could have still a maniac phase in sports cards because you haven't seen the interest rates go down. But the risk is, if you don't see the money printing going on, this hype is going to go away. And it's all because of Logan Paul and Ken Golden doing all sorts of hanky-panky. I blame this more on Ken Golden, because Ken Golden didn't disclose, from my understanding, that this was a PSA 9 multiple times. It's just unreal. So the math ain't mathing right now. You could have irrational exuberance for a bit, but guess what? For the sports cards to continue to go up crazily, you need to see M2 go up like crazy too. You need to see lower interest rates, the printing of money. If you don't see that, this thing could roll over real quick. And I don't think, in my opinion, is the time to be adding the sports cards unless you have a sophisticated system of finding discrepancies in price. Someone maybe misprices a card. Yeah, you can make money that way. You could buy up a boatload of cards and start selling them individually. There's always that. So anyways, let me know your thoughts. Do you think the math ain't mathing? Because it ain't. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.